This is the Maestro Group. And a maestro is someone who is very, very good at what they do. We are a collection of people, selectively, that are very good at what we do. And we are all affiliated through an organization called Consultants Link, which is on LinkedIn. And within Consultants Link, there's another organization called Executives Network, which we're in. I'm one of the managers of it, and Brian Connors is the other manager. Why are we here? We're here to network, to get to know you, for you to get to know us. There are no memberships, there are no fees, there are no dues, no one is selling anything. And quite candidly, part of the reason is I'm promoting a book that's coming out next year. The name of the book is The CEO Code. And so what I'd like to do is I would like to share from the book just a little bit of the introduction to stimulate your thinking. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have discussion and network for the rest of the morning and have breakfast, okay? The introduction is entitled, How Do People Really Change? A quote from O. Henry, "It ain't the roads we take, it's what's inside of us that makes us turn out the way we do." And then the story begins. A story, Jason. Frustration was in the air. 3 executives and their driver were crammed into a fully loaded minivan. They were standing still, stuck in heavy late afternoon traffic. Downtown Los Angeles is legendary for gridlock. Horns were blaring and it was hot and stuffy in the van. The executives felt like fish who had been hooked, pulled out of the water and thrown into a small bucket. One of the executives, Andy, was the president of a major construction company. He was riding shotgun. The other 2 executives sat in the back seat. The driver was trying to do his best, but they were making no progress. The streets were turned into a complex parking lot. One of the execs in back checked his watch. "It's 1:15, we're going to be late," he proclaimed in a high-pitched voice. "Turn right in the alley," Andy said to the driver. His voice was calm and measured. There was no traffic in the alley, just steep walls of concrete office buildings rising to block out the sky. The alley was narrow. They had to twist and turn to avoid trash bins as they maneuvered between the high-rise buildings. "After the next building, go left," Andy said, calm and controlled, as if he firmly barked instructions to the driver. Backseat executives were sitting squeezed between boxes and a bit uneasy and speechless. They were driving in forbidden territory. No traffic, but this back alley was dirty, dusty, and full of piles of trash. "Now follow that passageway for 3 blocks, and then we'll go right," said Andy. The driver did as he was told. Andy had confidence. He was dressed to the nines and at 6'4", a very impressive fellow. The executives in the back seat started to notice there were homeless people standing in the shadows, leaning against the buildings and sitting on cardboard. This part of the city was definitely making them uncomfortable. Suddenly, the dark alley started to get lighter. Ahead, they could see some sky, and then, as if some huge doors were opened, they drove out of the jungle and onto Main Street. Much to the surprise of the driver and the 2 backseat executives, they arrived right in front of the Los Angeles Rescue Mission. The driver and the backseaters were shocked, impressed, and confused. One of the executives couldn't help himself. "How the hell did you do that, Andy?" Looking straight ahead, Andy replied in a matter-of-fact tone, "I lived on these streets for 2.5 years when I was on the bottle. Fortunately, I hit the bottom and decided to change." The company van was full of holiday food and gifts for the homeless of downtown Los Angeles. It was a few days before Christmas, and these executives were delivering gifts. So how do people change? There are fundamentally 2 ways that people change. One is they have a significant emotional event. It could be divorce. It could be winning the lottery. It could be having a baby. It could be getting fired. That will often change a person's behaviors. And I know enough of you to know that several of you have experienced some of those things. The other way people change is they come to a realization and they understand it's time to change. I can improve my life. I want to do more. I have an insight. Maybe they read a book like the CEO Code and they decide, you know, I can do this. And so they develop a plan and a vision, and they start training, and they start reading, and they start going to seminars, and they start working on themselves, and they start exercising, and they can gradually change themselves. What's really amazing to me, and it's discussed in the book, is that many people have what is called an internal locus of control, and many other people have what's called an external locus of control. Now, there's a fellow by the name of Julian Rotter who taught at University of Connecticut, and before that he was teaching in Ohio. He's a social psychologist, and he came up with this concept of locus of control. The word locus comes from the Greek, location, and control. So what is the location of your control? If you have primarily an internal locus of control, it means that you are controlling yourself, or at least you believe you control yourself from the inside. It's an internal locus of control. If you have an external locus of control, it means that, well, I'd like to, but it depends upon what the government does, it depends on what society does, it depends on what my boss does, it depends on what the economy does. That's what's going to determine what happens to me. So there you can be coming from an internal locus of control or an external locus of control. I'd like you to think about what you are when it comes to making decisions. Are you operating from an internal locus of control, or are you operating from an external locus of control? Obviously, the CEO Code is about how we master the internal locus of control and influence our external locus of control, right? As you think about the upcoming election, it's a clear choice between two different philosophies and two different ways of living. And I think there is some correlation between the two choices we have coming up in the election and the difference between an internal locus of control and an external locus of control. There's at least some correlation. Let me give you my bias with a quote by George Bernard Shaw. If I can find it. The reasonable man adapts himself to the world. The unreasonable one persists in trying to adapt the world to himself. Therefore, all progress depends on the unreasonable man. The crazy guy that gives out his card and says, look me up on LinkedIn. We really appreciate you coming this morning. Just a little food for thought, a thought for the day. Think about where you're coming from, your internal locus of control or your external locus of control. If you're interested in more information on the book, I need people to give me feedback and all that kind of stuff. Let me know. It's delightful to have you here. Enjoy your breakfast, and now get to know each other, and thank you again.